Story 1. The wrong baby monitor. We bought a baby monitor with night vision for our newborn. It was a sleek, modern-looking thing with an app that let us watch the feed from our phones, even if we were out. As new parents, we were both paranoid and exhausted. The monitor gave us some peace of mind, at least at first. The first night we used it, everything seemed fine. Our daughter, barely 2 weeks old, slept silently in her crib. But the next night, we were jolted awake by a faint sound coming from the monitor's speaker. It was a lullaby. A woman's voice, soft and melodic, was humming a tune we didn't recognize. We stared at each other in confusion. I checked my phone to see if maybe the app had some sort of music function. It didn't. We checked the monitor settings. Nothing was scheduled and nothing had been played from our phones. Our baby wasn't crying. In fact, she was still and silent in the crib, eyes wide open, as if listening. We assumed it was a glitch, maybe interference from another device. But then it happened again the next night, same time, 3:17 a.m. exactly. The same woman's voice whispering lullabies. This time I pulled the plug on the monitor while it was still playing. The feed died, but the sound didn't stop. The voice kept whispering from the unplugged speaker as if it didn't need power to function anymore. I smashed the device against the wall, and only then did the sound finally stop. We bought a new monitor the next day. Different brand. This one didn't have smart features. It was basic. No internet connectivity, no app. Just a camera and a speaker. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake, eyes locked on the feed, volume turned low. The baby was still, sleeping soundly. Then 3:17 hit, and the whispering began again. Different monitor, same voice. This time I heard words, a soft lullaby in a language I didn't recognize. But the cadence was soothing, hypnotic. I ran into the nursery, heart pounding, but there was no one there. It's just our daughter, staring at the ceiling with that same wide-eyed look. Not crying, not blinking. Since that night, she hasn't cried. Not once. Not when she's hungry. Not when she's wet. Not when she gets vaccinated. It's just silence. The pediatrician says it's odd but not unheard of that some babies are just quiet. But she used to cry before the lullaby started. She used to cry like any normal infant. Now, every night at 3:17 a.m., no matter where we are, the monitor turns on by itself. The screen flickered with static, and the voice returns. Always whispering, always singing. I've tried everything. New devices, moving houses, even staying in hotels. But no matter what, the voice follows. And my daughter keeps getting quieter and colder. She doesn't blink much anymore. She doesn't react to noise or light, just stares. I asked her last night who sings to her. She turned her head toward me, finally showing some response, and in the softest, sweetest voice imaginable, she said, "Mommy, my wife died during childbirth." Story 2. The brother who came back. My twin brother, Caleb, disappeared on a solo hike through the Ouachita Mountains in the fall of 2019. It was supposed to be a weekend getaway. He needed a break, he said. A reset from the grind of our routine lives. We'd always done everything together, from our first steps to our first day of college, but this time, he wanted solitude. I remember the last photo he sent me from the trail, a dense forest with sunlight piercing through the canopy, his smile slightly forced, like he was faking enthusiasm. But then he stopped replying. No calls, no messages. After 2 days of silence, I drove 6 hours to the ranger station. A search was launched. They found his campsite. His gear, his phone cracked and water damaged, but no body, no tracks, no signs of a struggle, just gone. The grief was unbearable. Being a twin is more than just shared DNA. It's like walking through life with a mirror. When he vanished, something in me unraveled. I stopped sleeping. I barely ate. I spent hours reading forums about people who went missing in national parks, hikers, hunters, and children. Some were found years later in places already searched. Others never reappeared. I began to accept that Caleb was gone, maybe mauled, maybe fell down a ravine, maybe ... something worse. Then, last week I came home from work and there he was, standing on my porch like no time had passed. He looked the same as the day he left, same torn jeans, same maroon hoodie with the sleeve half burned from a campfire mishap. He smiled when he saw me, but it was off, like he was imitating a smile, not feeling it. I froze, couldn't speak. My brain couldn't decide whether to cry or scream. He stepped forward, arms wide, saying, "I missed you, Darren. My name is Jason." At first, I thought trauma had scrambled his memory. Maybe he'd survived some horrific experience, was rescued, and finally made it back. But nothing about his return made sense. He didn't ask what had happened in the years he'd been gone, didn't mention our parents or his ex-girlfriend or his job. He just kept saying how good it was to be home, like this wasn't his first time here. I let him in. What else was I supposed to do? He looked exactly like Caleb. Voice, mannerisms, everything. But little things started piling up. He referred to a scar on my arm that doesn't exist. He insisted our childhood dog was named Toby, but we never had a dog. He didn't remember our high school graduation or the fact that our grandmother died in 2018. When I corrected him, he'd stare at me in silence, as if trying to reset some internal script. Then it got worse. The second night, I woke up to find him sitting on the living room floor in the dark, staring at the television. It wasn't on. He wasn't blinking. When I asked what he was doing, he said, listening for the voices. The third night, I locked my bedroom door. Something about the way he moved had started to unsettle me. His steps were too precise, too quiet. Like he was trying not to disturb something that was watching him. Last night, I woke to a weight on the edge of my bed. I didn't open my eyes right away. I could feel him there, just watching me. Breathing slow, measured. When I finally looked, he was standing over me, head tilted, eyes wide and unblinking. No emotion, no recognition. I asked what he was doing. He whispered, "Just making sure you're still real." I didn't sleep after that. I waited until sunrise, packed a bag, and drove to a motel. Right now, I'm typing this from a room with no windows. I left him at the house. I don't know what he is. I want to believe Caleb came back. I want to believe there's a rational explanation for everything. The thing in my house may wear my brother's face, may speak with his voice, but it is not him. I saw his reflection in the hallway mirror before I left. It wasn't standing still. It was moving on its own, smiling. I don't think it wants to hurt me, at least. Not yet. But it keeps calling me Darren. Now I keep hearing whispers at exactly 2:19 a.m., the time Caleb vanished on that mountain trail. The whispers always say the same thing. One came back. One must stay. Story 3. The dragging sound above me. I moved into the old building last November, mostly because it was cheap and close to work. The place was worn down, but had character. Creaky floors, yellowed walls, and those tall, arched windows that let in just enough daylight to make you forget the place felt like a mausoleum at night. The neighbors were quiet, too quiet, really. I barely saw anyone, and the hallway always smelled faintly of mildew and dust, like the building had given up on trying to stay alive. But I didn't mind. I wanted solitude. And for the first few weeks, that's exactly what I got. Then the noises started. Every night, like clockwork, I'd hear it faint at first, then gradually louder. It started with soft footsteps pacing back and forth directly above me. Then came the dragging sound, like someone pulling a heavy piece of furniture across the floor. The rhythm was odd. It wasn't constant. It would start and stop suddenly, followed by dull thuds, like someone dropping something or falling over. At first, I assumed it was a neighbor. Maybe someone moved in, and the landlord hadn't updated the records. I didn't think much of it until I ran into him in the hallway one morning and casually asked about the tenant upstairs. He gave me a strange look, the kind that makes your stomach twist before your brain catches up. Then he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He said, "Nobody lives above you." I told him that it couldn't be right. I heard movement every night. Furniture dragging, footsteps, sometimes even muffled voices. He shook his head and said that the apartment had been empty for 5 years. The last tenant, a middle-aged woman who kept to herself, vanished without a trace, left everything behind. No one had lived there since. I stood there frozen as he walked off, humming to himself like he hadn't just said something deeply unsettling. That night, I stayed awake to hear it again. I turned off all the lights and sat in the dark with a mug of coffee, staring at the ceiling. At 1:43 a.m., right on time, the noises began. Soft, slow footsteps, then the dragging, something heavy, scraping along the floor in agonizing rhythm, then the thuds. They sounded angrier this time, louder, closer. I grabbed a broom and pounded on the ceiling, yelling for whoever it was to knock it off. The noises stopped instantly. Silence fell over the apartment like a weight. I waited, holding my breath. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. I went to bed shaken, but convinced someone must be squatting up there. The next morning, I went up to check. The stairwell ended at my floor. There was no upper level, no door, no access to a higher apartment. Confused, I went outside and stared up at the building. My window was the topmost one. Above it was only brick and a slanted roof. No windows, no floor, just empty sky. Asked the landlord again, sighed, and said, I shouldn't worry about things I didn't understand. I pushed for answers. He finally told me that whatever I thought I was hearing, it wasn't coming from a person. Not anymore. That night, the noises returned, but this time, they didn't stay above me. They moved. The dragging sound shifted to the walls like something was crawling inside them. Thuds came from the kitchen, then the bathroom. I walked from room to room, but every time I entered, the sound would retreat to another part of the apartment. At 3:12 a.m., I heard my bedroom closet creak open slowly. I didn't check. I just sat on the couch, staring at the front door, waiting for the sun to rise. It's been 3 days since then. I don't sleep anymore. I hear it every night now, not just above me, but inside. It whispers sometimes, not words. Just breathy sounds that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. I tried to record it, but the playback is always silent. No audio, just the sound of my own breath.
Oh.
The landlord won't talk to me anymore. I saw him through his window yesterday. He pretended not to notice me. I think he knows exactly what this building is, what it's hiding. Today I went into the attic. I had to. I had to know if maybe there was a hidden stairway or crawl space, something the blueprints didn't show. All I found was dust and rotting beams. But in the corner, wedged between two support columns, was a child's shoe. And next to it, long scratches in the wood floor, as if something had been dragged across it again and again.
I'm not crazy. I know what I hear.
The problem is, the thing making the noise knows I hear it too. The dragging didn't start until I lay in bed. This time it came from under it.